under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to announce that we had a brief executive session regarding personnel prior to the start of this meeting. Also, I see an influx of residents from the Woodland Road area. So we'll let the solicitor, Tom McDermott, maybe address some of your questions prior to the start of this meeting.
Thanks. And I apologize. I understand that Mrs. Stazzle is here this evening?
Yep.
Yeah, I beg your pardon. And I met you maybe a few months ago in the audience. And I was absent last month. I beg your pardon with my daughter's wedding. But I got feedback. In the meantime, I appreciate, and I'm sorry I'm going to be a bad guy. I have, as I do often, advised the board not to comment on the matter because it's ongoing enforcement matter. I'm also happy to talk to you after the meeting. And folks are, obviously, you're allowed to make comment, but I want to caution, and I can let you know that it's obviously an ongoing enforcement matter, zoning matter. I tell you, and I would be happy to talk to you more outside the meeting about it, because it is an ongoing enforcement matter, so with legal stuff, they really can't be heard to, be interjecting it at this point. I can tell you that a notice has been sent.
To the...
Yes, yeah, and I can share more information with you about that, because it's an ongoing enforcement matter, but enforcement is being commenced on that.
Because we've got quite a few concerns.
No, I appreciate that, and it is not, I understand there was some discussion about these and such last month. We really can't enforce based on that sort of thing. However, under the zoning ordinance, and I've been working with George on it, and George has sent a notice out on it. We're not supposed to comment publicly about notices that precede citations, and that's why I'm being a little cautious. But I can assure you, and I'd be happy to speak with you about it. Not outside the meeting, I would appreciate it.
All right. With that being said, are there any public discussions on the items to be voted on? Mary Jo Stazzle, you're listed on the agenda.
There's no motion here for those holding tanks that he was requesting, or the 2024 K resolution that was on last month's agenda that got tabled. So then I have comments and still concerns of what's going on, because it is getting much worse. But since that's not on the agenda, am I still allowed to speak now, or do I have to wait to the end?
I can let you know that it was upon my advice that it was removed from the agenda relating to the same matters.
Okay.
And will not be brought back before the board before those are addressed.
Okay. Any other public comments regarding the agenda? Please state your name for the record.
Kathy Lodge. I just have one comment in reviewing past minutes. I come every month and I ask about Act 14 notifications, and I'm not specific on range, and they do reflect that I've asked for range. I'm asking for any Act 14 notifications. So if the minutes do reflect that I've asked just for range, I'd like that corrected. And I'm asking for any Act 14 notifications from any company that the township's entitled to receive. And that may be what's in your correspondence listed as item 12. That might be the place where they would occur, but I don't see anything listed as Act 14, so.
We have gotten none.
Okay. But again, I'm not specific, and I've never said just range. It's any company's Act 14 notice.
All right.
Thank you.
I will do that from the future on.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And just so that you're aware, because it's not just one company. It's
Right.
any company that has earth disturbance is going to submit that. So.
All right. Any other folks would like to comment on an agenda item? If not, we'll move on to the minutes from the August 28, 24 supervisors meeting that were presented.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of August 28th supervisors meeting.
No second. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 The motion carries.
Make a motion to authorize and ratify the payment of the bills and payroll for the month of September 2024.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the departmental reports.
I second the motion to approve the departmental reports. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries.
I'm gonna make a motion to advertise for the full-time firefighter EMT to replace Mike Laborick.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. I'd like to make a motion to approve trunk or treat for Sunday, October 20th, along with Halloween on Thursday, October 31st, from 6 to 8 p.m.
The trunk or treat is from noon to 1.
The trunk or treat is from noon to 1 on October 20th, so 2 different dates. Trunk or treat on the 20th, trick or treat on Halloween, Thursday,
Same
6 to 8.
What's the,
Noon to 1 for trunk or treat, 6 to 8 for trick or treat.
Correct.
Second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the application of Baker for designation parcel number 460-00-00-0040-0040, aka 9 Minnicky Lane, as part of the township's agricultural security area.
I'll second the motion. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve signing bonuses, 1 week paid vacation, leave in 2024, and for Officer David Carlton Jr. and Brian Mickens. Brian Mickens was also hired just the last hire. Dave Carlton was hired prior to that. Due to the fact those 2 officers being hired so close together, we offered Officer Mickens the week, so we're going to equally give it to Dave Carlton as well.
I'll second the motion. Are there any questions on the motion?
I have some comments. I think we're opening up a can of worms. This goes against the collective bargaining agreement, and I just think you're asking for trouble further down the line from other departments.
Chief, do you have any comments on the collective bargaining issue?
I wouldn't. I would defer to Tom. I don't. The only concern that I would have is I may ask during this process if it was difficult to fulfill, could I run it till January 31st, as long as they use it by January 31st? In the event that adding the 2 additional weeks for the time still outstanding, that would be my only request.
How about if we just put a postpone until we can get clarification from Carl on the...
Well, on that narrow question, I believe that I believe that the nature of the motion is to approve the entitlement to that in 2024, but actually scheduling vacation is something that's left to your needs ultimately. And if this were approved, it can be deferred as far as actual usage if your needs on the ground in the field override that.
Okay.
In other words,
This was discussed in a workshop, and it just wasn't added to that process. And this was one of the things that we agreed with hiring Mickens.
No, I'm not talking about the general. He was just asking whether the way the motion is written, it says basically the signing bonus is in the form of them being allowed to have 1 week's of entitlement to vacation. That otherwise you wouldn't be covered for the CBA, okay? And if that's being authorized, that's cool. What he's asking is
If I'm in favor,
If you approve this, can you amend the motion to say that they may, at his discretion, be allowed to use it no later than January 31st as opposed to December 31st?
Correct. We
Once that-
typically don't roll over vacation time. In this limited circumstance,
Yes.
it may be hard to fulfill. I haven't fully looked at it. I don't know that that's the case, but I can imagine, based on what I do know, it may be difficult. So I would just ask for one more month.
well, my question is, you know, when these questions come up about trying to get people hired, you know, it was a very difficult task to try to find a replacement when we lost Officer, Tyler Evans. And, you know, with the promotions out there with other departments, you got to get creative right now trying to hire police because, let's face it, no one wants to be a policeman today in this climate and what's going on. And we're trying to improve the wages here to get officers to come here. So it's just some of the work that needs to be done. You got to get creative these days on hiring processes. Quite frankly, if you just look about, this is it's really ain't a whole lot of money when you're talking about it. I understand your concerns for precedent, but sometimes you got to make decisions to get officers here and the residents protected. So my question, I don't think we should amend the motion. It's just kind of a question about vacation prior to them getting their entitled vacation once they've served a year.
Well, because of their hire dates, it makes it unique in itself, just because we're towards the end of the year. I don't think it's necessary to take it beyond January 31st, but I think that I can fulfill it by January 31st.
You can maybe split the baby by, in essence, by keeping the motion in place, but only amending it to say, comma, to be used
By,
for.
yeah,
I
that
mean,
would be.
you can work with the
131.
officers.
Well, I can, but if we could just do, what Tom's trying to say is exactly what I would
To be
ask.
used in the
To be
chief's.
used by
Yeah.
January 31st of 2025 would, I think, solve it.
To be
On my end.
To be authorized
Yes.
for use by
Yes.
the actual league.
All right, does someone want to agenda the motion?
You can have the meeting minutes noted, it's amended that way,
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
used, to be
used.
authorized,
Yeah.
used it as authorized by the chief on or before 1/31.
So mentioned by the solicitor to be amended to the motion.
Yeah.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries.
I'm opposed.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion to accept the lowest quote. So we working on putting electricity at the Southview Ballpark. So we got 3 quotes on it. We discussed this in executive meeting. Shadler gave us a quote in the amount of $2,322.01 for materials to provide electric to Southview Ball Field.
But there was another quote there.
Don't
There was
forget.
another quote, you had to add the extra 100 feet or something.
Uh,
Yeah,
that
plus
was-
327.
Yeah, so $2,322.01 plus $327, because they shorted us 100 foot of pipe on the quote. The Public Works will be doing the digging for the pipe, so we don't have to have a charge on that. I mean, other than they're paying, being here. And then there was also 3 other quotes, which we are looking at the lowest one. Right now, I believe we've come to the discussion of putting the pipe in, and we come to an agreement with the wire yet.
Well, I think that's, we may not put the wire in as discussed in the executive session until we know that we're gonna get the meter box up and everything, but makes sense to maybe that combined purchase.
Yeah, so really what we want to try to do is get the pipe in, ground dike pipe in, and possibly have the cable, which is 300 M aluminum cable, and possibly the meter box. We just want to get this stuff out of the way before the weather breaks. And this is what we're trying to move forward with.
So you made that motion?
I did make
You
that
did,
motion.
okay.
Yes.
So you're adding in the wire too?
Yes.
I think
That ups the.
No,
It's
that's included in
That's
there.
20, it's 2649
It was already in
37.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
And I will adjust that, saying that they forgot 100
which
feet.
$327.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
Make a motion with regret to accept the resignation of George Proch from Zoning and Code Officer effective September 26, 2024.
Second. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion?
I'd just like to continue and make a comment. George has been here for a while. He's done an excellent job for the township as our zoning and code enforcement officer. He's going to be hard to replace, and I want to thank him for the time that he has spent here.
I also would like to thank Mr. George Proch for his time that he served here as a zoning officer. He will be missed.
I'm going to add to that, not that I had a lot of experience with him here, but since I just got elected on. So. And I hope he does well on himself.
Yes, I would like to state that this is all for medical reasons that are dire. So,
So thank you, Mr. Proch, for your service to Mount Pleasant Township.
And if I can also please add to that as well.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The motion carries.
Correspondence. The township sent out the following letter during the month requesting a proposal for engineering. West Penn Power regarding streetlights at Fort Cherry Ambulance, and PAWC regarding extending the water line along North Carroll Road.
So that may address some of your concerns that was done.
Yeah, yes.
Just to put your mind at ease, so we can see if we get some type of response, but the township acted on behalf of your petition and new residents coming to the last meeting, so thank you for that.
You have someone supposed to be calling you. She got a call the other day.
oh, okay. From who, ma'am, can I ask?
It's
Did-
a engineering firm who works for Penvest.
Oh, okay.
His name's Quay Chappelle,
Quay,
Quay,
Q-U-A-Y, Chappelle.
Schapppell.
Okay. All right, he's an engineer.
And did you guys,
Maybe you could get a phone number, reach out to him.
Yeah.
Emphasize.
Just photo, okay. If you can call me tomorrow with it, or just give it to me after the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did send a letter along with everything that was given to me to my municipal rep at Pennsylvania American Water.
No.
So,
did any of your neighbors, I may have asked this at the last meeting, but my memory might not be serving me correct. You probably already did. But did anyone reach out specifically to the Public Utility Commission?
I did.
She's called,
And
not everybody but the president.
did you get any response, or did you get a response or any type of formal answer from the Public Utility Commission?
I filed a complaint against them, well, against Pennsylvania American Water, and I guess I didn't go about it correctly, not knowledgeable enough. So it went really nowhere
Right,
because
because there's a lady right here in Hickory that filed a complaint against Pennsylvania American Water, sort of like what you're doing, and the PUC followed them up on that, and that's the reason water come to Hickory. The lady's name was Cindy Parks, that lives on Fort Cherry Road.
okay.
I know she's not in very good health right now, but you may want to have a conversation with her.
Okay. Thank you.
did they give you the proper information for the PUC?
I'm trying, like, whenever I spoke with them, it's been a while now, I don't really remember the conversation.
All right. Okay, just wondering.
I mean, you can get a phone number and follow up.
Yes,
Find out
yes.
what the steps would be.
All right.
I think I tried that too.
Are there any other public comments that were not on the agenda that anyone would like to say at this time? Go ahead, just state your name for the record again.
Mary Jo Skazel. I was going to ask for a meeting with the zoning board, but I won't do that now because I think we've kind of maybe helped resolve these problems that we're having at lot 102 on Woodland or 48 Woodland Road. And then I had other issues that have occurred in the last month that I was going to talk about, and that's why some of the neighbors are here. They've got to have complaints too, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're fine to voice those concerns.
Well, the fact that we were promised that the road is going to stay peaceful and quiet, and instead at 5:10 a.m. we're being wakened up by, sounds like triaxle trucks with their beds lifted up and the back thing banging.
Well, you told us that at the last meeting.
No, well, this was just recently, and it continues on Sundays. And so that's one of my big concerns. I mean, it's relentless, the noise that we put up with from beginning of construction through this whole thing. And then about the board meeting, I'll talk with him a good bit. I think we can maybe straighten out some things.
All right.
But I don't know if the other people.
Anybody that's wanted to, I didn't mean to the exclusion of anybody else. I'm happy to stand. And
But
talk.
Mr. Seraphin, just state your name for the record.
Yeah, Rich Seraphin. I live on Woodland Road, and I have an issue with not so much as about these tanks or whatever she's referring to. The issue I have is a safety issue, amongst other ones, with 48 Woodland Road. My son got run off the road by one of his triaxles, okay? Got ran into a ditch. So if this property is not supposed to be if it's zoned agricultural.
Again, I can tell you that the notice has been, I'm sorry, cutting you off. The cease and desist is in process. The business operations are going to cease.
I can't hear you. What's that?
The cease and desist is in process, and there will be a cessation of business operations at the address, I can assure you.
So you're saying it's going to stop?
Yes.
Okay, so my son got ran off the road from a triaxle coming out of his driveway. My one son. I have pictures of me and my other son coming up the road with a Mack truck, a lowboy, and a triaxle on top of it, and pushed me and my other boy off, and almost into the ditch. Okay, that's number two. Number three, there's already been an issue with a school bus on Woodland Road. Okay, what's coming out of that driveway over there? So what is it going to take to curb this down?
Well, the cease and desist
Okay.
order put in.
It looks like, I mean,
Right.
it,
We'll talk.
I just said to you, Mr. Proch today, as one of his last acts in employment is the issuance of notices in regard to this matter, that I would be happy to speak with you all about after the meeting, if you'd be so kind. That information would actually be helpful to me, but not kind of placing a meeting.
well, hey, it's the first time I've been to one of these meetings.
No, I get it.
Didn't know who to come
No,
talk
I
to.
get it. I appreciate
I'm here.
it. And I'm not trying to be,
That's all.
I'm not trying to be.
And you
completely-
certainly have your right to voice your public comments. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So, I mean, I still don't understand what the building is down there. It's supposed to be a private building to store private items in?
Again, I can't comment on the violations in the meeting because there's an ongoing enforcement matter. And I'd be happy to talk to you all.
Best thing to do is meet with them after.
Two doors down to say, hey, there's a guy coming your way, looks suspicious. She said somebody opened the door, put her cat in the door and closed the door. Somebody tried to break into her home, which is probably known about. I just want to make it known, like.
Yeah, well, please direct that to our police
I
chief.
know.
It's yours
I
audience.
called you that night and I just was so just.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
calling 911 would be most beneficial so we can respond. I don't know offhand, I don't think we had a call similar to that on Johnson.
Not on Johnson, it would be on Hornhead Road.
Hornhead, okay.
Yeah, I was coming down Johnston.
When was that?
If I'm at the cat call, we did respond.
At the door.
Yes.
Cat in the door. Oh, okay.
Yes, we responded to
This
it.
was Sunday, the still
Okay.
Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah. Go to Johnson.
Pleasure. Oh, I thought you were just speaking.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, call 911. We're here 24/7. We were there, so she must have called. But, yeah, we're aware of them.
Yeah, she said that they're building a fence to block, there's a trail going down there, and they're gonna build a fence to block that, but,
If she sees suspicious activity, call us.
all right.
We'll check it.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Are there any other public comments? Please state your name for the
My name
record.
is David Robb. I'm speaking on behalf of my parents. I have no personal issues with Mr. Crotch, and I wish him well. I would like to bring up some issues that I think that this decision that he has made that has hurt my family. I'd like
I'm
to-
having a hard time hearing.
Oh, okay, I'll move up for you. I was just saying, I don't have any personal issues with Mr. Price. I just wanted him to do his job impartially. So my parents are facing a persistent gridlock where the township informs them that their problem is a county issue, while the DEP and the Washington Conservation District tell them it's a township issue. And in my opinion, this is all rooted in one of Mr. Crotch's poor decisions. One point that often slips from the conversation when the Crotch letter is addressed, as per Mr. Crotch's letter of August 10th, 2022, to the response over concern over odor, manures, and flies, that was the original letter that was dated by Mr. Crotch. However, on August 27th, 2022, after the discovery of E. coli and chloroform beyond testable levels in my parents' well, the township was notified that the well was extremely contaminated, and they had in my opinion, they had an opportunity to reconsider because they had new information. It always seemed to me that there's an opportunity to amend this letter and show good faith and with a desire to live peacefully with the neighbors. My parents immediately informed the neighbors about the contamination of their well. They were concerned with that the neighbor's well might also be contaminated because they have young children. My parents, not litigious, they're not interested in pursuing legal action. They simply want these cows to be removed. I recognize the right of the neighbors to do as they please on their property, but not at the expense of my parents' health, their safety, and their well-being. The contamination and odor from these cows are compromising my parents' health quite considerably. I also feel that the neighbors have failed to comply with the manure management plan. Since my last formal request for a site inspection, it seems that the neighbors have placed a feeder closer to the well. I don't think there's any sensible reason to do this. This land has been in my family for 5 generations, and at no time were animals kept in this residential area established many years ago, nor has any member of my family kept animals close to houses. The neighbors mistakenly believe that my mother's sister, Carolyn Vosnick, had llamas. This is not true. Sherry Venerio had llamas. She's not related to my family. Alpacas and cows produce manure in significantly different amounts, 4 pounds a day versus 80 pounds to 100 pounds of manure for cows. There's also a significant 2-year gap in the non-conforming use, and there's no grandfathering of the cows as Mr. Price erroneously believed. I'm curious to find out if the proper permits were obtained. Every interaction with the zoning officer has consistently escalated the situation with very little attempts of resolution. I could provide normal, well, I'm not, I mean, the fellow's sick, I'm not gonna go on about the failings of him, but I just need him to remain impartial.
Mr. Roth?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your comments, but we do limit the comments to a certain amount of time.
Okay,
If
could you
there's
show-
something that you want to specifically point out and closing up with your
Yeah, yes,
statement,
sir.
go ahead.
Mr. Price informed my parents on Tuesday, September 17th, that if a judge had ruled to change the decision or the ruling, he would choose to go to jail rather than amend the ruling. Supervisors, ultimately the responsibility rests with you. Well, I guess he's no longer under your employment and supervision, but I don't think this ruling is just, and I think it needs to be revisited.
Well, thank you, Mr. Roth, for your comments. Are there any other public comments?
I do want to note only that the matter is presently in litigation filed by the Ross against the Woodrow in the Common Pleas Court of Washington County, which is the reason I've advised not to comment on it. All of these very issues are before a judge, were argued, I believe, on August 26th in a summary judgment motion, and I believe an order is pending in that matter.
I would still just like it to be revisited.
Thank you very much. Any other residents like to speak? If not,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
the motion's been moved and second for adjournment. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Thank you all for attending this evening.
Oh, I know, you do. You should see the first time.